Hey, family. Recorded. Hey, family, what's going on? This is Doug Reed with the Let's Go Show. I'm honored for our next guest. We had the opportunity to collaborate on a few things. Really haven't met this brother in person, but what I do know, down to earth, he's a therapist doing some amazing work within the community. So, John, how you doing, brother?
Oh man, Doug, I'm great, highly blessed. And Doug, listen, it's an honor to be on your show. You know, like I said, and we got some stuff we did. I got some more stuff we're gonna do later. I will talk about that later on, but it's an honor to be on your show. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, I mean that's why this joint called the Let's Go Show. You already know, man. It's all about the energy and the vibes. But yo, let's jump right into it, John. Like, what who is Little Johnny? Like, where did this thing start, man? And how it started?
Oh, okay. Wow, Little Johnny is Jonathan Cameron Sr. I grew up in West Philly. They call it Winfield, really. Sometimes they call it the suburban part of West Philly, but I tell people a lot happened in that little area. So I went to Overbrook High School. Actually, Will Smith and we were good friends. He graduated a year after I did. Played football at Overbrook High.
Yo, well, hold up, John. Now you can't just drop a dime and be like, "Yo, well, me and Will Smith was, we good friends." I like they named the show after me. Actually, like grew up in West Philly. That was the line that you gave them, I'm sure, right?
Right. Born and raised.
Yeah. So go ahead.
So they've done. Will lived a couple of blocks from me. We used to play basketball. We was good friends. His beatbox guy, Reddy Roxy, actually lived on my neighbor. That's my neighbor, lived on my block, and his first DJ Mark Forrest lived around the corner from. So we was all good friends. If we would have never thought that Will would be such a big hit.
Yes, sir.
I will tell you one funny thing. I came home from school, and Will was at the car show, and he was walking, and all of a sudden people started chasing him, and he's running. I'm like, that's when I realized he was a big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, but no, funny guy, good dude. I'm just blessed to say I'm somebody that knew him and grew up with him. We used to play ball a little bit together. Real athletic guy, and he was somebody from the neighborhood who, I'm just happy they got the opportunity they made.
Yeah. Well, hey, thanks for actually sharing that, man, because that is, that's one of them gems, and that's why I like to go back with people as we build forward and just we learn about their foundation and who they are. So tell us a little bit more.
Yeah. Also, Lady B from my neighborhood. A lot of people grew up in Winfield.
Wait, come on, man. That lady, not the basement party, Lady B.
Yeah, and my she lived down the street, so we had block parties, and sometimes she would rap. She lived at the other end of Will's block, right? And so she would rap sometime, and then also from Monster Ball, the producer, he lived on Lady B's block. Him and my sister were like really good friends.
Oh wow, man! So
that's why I tell people, so I'm honored to be from Winfield. It was a lot of, and the Jollies Billy Jolly who wrote the theme for Channel 6, he's from my neighborhood, so I'm grateful,
So you had definitely sound like you had a nice foundation within community,
Yeah. And I will say it was a situation where, most of it was a lower middle class neighborhood. There was a lot of dads around. And I think that made a big difference, not to be sexist or anything, but there was a lot of dads around to kind of, make sure everybody was good and going in the right direction. Were they perfect? I don't know. But there was a lot of dads around for their sons.
Wow. Well, let me, about what age, I'll say.
My dad was with me the whole time. I was, from a baby on up. Majority of my friends, their dads was there from that time too.
Well, let me ask you, how significant is that? As you look at things now, I know we kind of private, but how significant is that?
It's very significant, Doug, because I know I learned what hard work was. And my friends were. I learned what it means to be a man and be there for your family and family first. You know, I watched my dad lose his job. We was struggling. I watched my dad work 3 part-time jobs to make sure we was all right. And I've seen other my friends' fathers. They worked and they spent time with their boys. My dad, he always spent time with me. Like we'd go out on a Saturday, he would talk just about life and self. He said, John, you can always be honest with me. If there's anything you need to know, anything we need to talk about. And I think those are important factors that you got this feel a male perspective about things too. I had my mom's perspective and I had my dad's perspective about life. You know, and not saying I'm not knocking no single mom because they've done amazing jobs, but I do think it's important for a boy to see a man how a man moves.
Yeah, that's very important, man. And especially as I think about, even as I came up with a household, it's 5 of us, single mom, but John has a solid foundation. He's grown up with stars and celebrities. So,
I tell people, it's you go out there and do the reckless things though. I will say I love the party and I love that. I loved OE at that time.
Now, see, yeah. I don't know if our listeners, even the people that have seen this,
they don't even know what
that is. Yeah, they may not know what OE is, man. OE is a definitely malt liquor. It came in a bottle like the 40-ounce bottle. And once that thing came out, especially that was during my teenage years as well, John. But we did.
Yeah, I'm grateful.
Yeah, we did do things still great.
I told you, I wasn't straight. I told my son I wasn't straight out, but I learned from my experience.
Right.
After that, I went off to Westchester, played a year of football at Westchester. Realized that I couldn't balance work. I couldn't balance school and football. It just didn't work for me because I just wasn't. I wasn't emotionally mature yet. You know what I'm saying? Because
that's very important. That's very
important. If anybody
ever
plays football or any kind of sports, you realize that it's a job and you got to get it done. And I think I wasn't ready yet to realize that you got to, balance school, go play football, keep your grades up, when to say no. You can't go out every Thursday night when everybody going out because you need to make sure you're getting ready for, trainings and the off seasons and stuff like that. But just the intensity and the perseverance was a good training for me mentally to realize that I could persevere and get through something. So I'm grateful for that as well.
Let me ask you. Yeah. Let me ask you. So how important, and then if you can even elaborate on it, people going to, and I'll say college, that's taking it to the next level as far as education. But how important is time management during those years?
Time management is 100% important. Because you got to be able to balance this stuff because like I said, you may have an assignment to do. You're a freshman, but the Greeks is having something out in the yard. And you got to figure out, do I go watch what the Greeks is doing? Because, especially if you're HBCU or whatever, I was at Westchester, but you still wanted to see what's going on. You wanted to see what the new freshman girls look like, where they were at. So you had to decide, do I go there today or do I wait till Saturday when somebody has a party and I study right now? What time to go to class? If we got early classes, go to class, maybe take a nap or take a break and then study later on in the afternoon. I was a person, I couldn't study with the TV on, so I had to go to the library. So you had to find out your study style too. And, and commit to that. That's another word. You have to commit to this. Because if not, before you know it, you'll be home.
Yeah, I guess I got to test because everything that you said, I didn't do. You know what I mean? So, and I remember getting my little letter and telling me, you're on probation. And I'm like, probation? What is probation? But and what led to that? Actually, school didn't work out for me, which then in turn, I joined the military, which actually, set me a solid foundation. So what happens after, during college and after college?
After college, go through. I took 5 years. Me and my best friend Ray Stevenson. I want to shout out to Ray Stevenson, my right hand man. He is the first Black chief of police at Westchester University.
Wow. Now, once again, John, I mean, you name dropping, like, I mean, Will Smith, Jazzy Jeff, I mean, Lady B, my man, what's it, the B-Box,
Ready Rock C, yeah.
Ready Rock C. Now you're talking about the first African-American Black
chief of
police in Westchester University.
He right from 32nd and Spring Guard, right down the bottom. Man, we've been friends ever since 11th grade, 10th grade. We've been friends. So I'm so proud of him.
Well, you definitely got to reach out to him as we go forward, man. Yeah. We got to get him on the show.
I will. I'm gonna connect you with him. He's a good guy. He got a heck of a story for you, because we were together and I watched him lose his dad, and a lot happened. And we was all school police officers. I worked security. He did. And he stayed. He got his degree. And as a matter of fact, he got his master's 2 weeks ago from Westchester while being the chief of police. So I'm gonna definitely connect you with him.
Yeah. So you guys are rocking, and then it sounds like Ray's a accountability partner.
Yeah. That's how we see. I wouldn't have got out of college with one for Ray. He probably was the same thing. We had to keep pushing through, because like I said, when I was at Westchester, we talking about the mid '80s. Westchester was a different look. There wasn't a lot of people that looked like us there. So he and I went from being at 100% Black Brook to ended up on Westchester campus, where it's less than 10% of us. So it was a reverse culture shock for both of us. I was like, whoa, where are we? Which my mom said, this is the real world, John. You had to learn this world. And so he and I are both undergrads in phys ed. So basically, if Ray wasn't in my class, I didn't have nobody that looked like me in my class. And so we kind of like, we're gonna get through this no matter what. We're gonna get through this. So I'm grateful for him too. You know what I mean? But we pushed each other to get through and whatnot. After that, I went back to Philadelphia to start teaching. To graduate. Okay. Yeah, I left Westchester security, went to Philadelphia. My undergrad was phys ed. His too. He just was like, I ain't doing this, John. I'm cool. And he became a police officer, and then he went up through the ranks. So I taught in Philly for a little bit, and then I hooked up. Good friend of mine hooked me up on the weekends working with juveniles at Lima, and I kind of liked it. It just kind of like just kind of connected with me. So I left teaching after 3 years, and I worked at Lima and a place called Ferris School in Delaware. So that was like a maximum security school for adjudicated kids. That was my mission. And I stayed there from 94 to 2007.
Wow, I didn't know that. Now let me ask you, because it, especially, doing that kind of work requires a special person, one dealing with juveniles, but then again, tell us more, like, because you become a servant, so to speak. You become a role model, you become a counselor, like you become a, you become a dad, you know what I mean? So what drove you? Like you said, I'm gonna hang in there, because I know there was days like, I'm not doing this anymore.
You know what drove me was I saw hope in a lot of them boys' eyes. Some of them had, at that time, Ferris was set up differently. So I had boys who might have stolen the car, but their roommate might have committed murder. So you had, some of them going home, some of them had juvenile life, and then they're going to prison. So I seen a lot of hope in some of the guys' eyes. And I'm real stubborn. I stayed there, and I worked with a lot of, and it was funny because one time I caught a flat. And I was like, man, I don't fix no flat. So I which I can fix. I called AAA, and one of my kids that I had like in the 90s pulled up in his truck. He had a contract with AAA, and he was a horrible kid. He was like, when he pulled up, I was like, Gabe, like he was somebody I would have never, ever, ever expected. And he's like, no, I went, I did go to jail, but my cellie and his dad had a towing company. He was like, look, you get out, you can come work for my dad and then make your money and buy your own truck. And that's what he did.
Wow.
So that's what, so that made me even stay more and more. Then I went to graduate school while I was there, got my master's in school counseling. And then I left and I went to Philadelphia to work at what they call a climate manager.
Okay.
And then I started working my master's in administration. It's funny, I'm not done yet. I got 3 classes. I was telling a friend of mine, I'm going back and eventually get it done.
Yes,
so
sir.
As a climate manager, I just because of my background in affairs, they sent me to Strawberry Mansion, right? So Mansion was just no joke. It was rough. I almost had to Joe Clark that school because I had to put a lot of kids out.
Wait. Now, see, John, you can't just drop things on it because a lot of time our listeners don't know. You know what I mean? And if you remember the song, there's a song called Lean on Me. Then we talk about Joe Clark. I think it was up in East Orange.
Y'all Patterson. And it's funny, I got family that went there when he was there, Patterson, New Jersey.
In Patterson. My wife is from Patterson, actually.
Okay, yeah. So he probably knows some of my family member up there.
Member. So and during those times, school was tough, but Joe Clark went in there, laid the law down. But he was a disciplinarian. It was neat. Yeah. So you say you were at this school, you was about ready to pull a Joe Clark.
So actually, I because when they sent me there, Philadelphia had what they called at that time persistently dangerous schools. So Ferris was at that time was like number 2 or number 1, number 2 in the state of Pennsylvania as persistently dangerous school.
What does that mean though?
That means that attack on teachers were really high, fights were really high, overall crime was really high. And I actually knew that before I got there. They told me. By the time I got done, we were off the list. And unfortunately, I moved out. Our team moved out over 65 kids because we had to change the climate. And we had to create a safer climate for the teachers. When I got there, Lily was like East Side. The teachers were getting attacked and nobody knew anything.
How important is that, though? I mean, how important now, you're at a school, let's say a troubled school, dangerous. How do you create, and we'll talk more, but how do you create that safe space, not only for the students, but for the teachers?
You have to, by action. If a teacher got assaulted, unfortunately, my principal, she gave me the rein to like, if a teacher gets assaulted, we have to lock these children up because we can't lose no teachers. I brought a lot of kids in and we started breaking down. If this happens, the school code of conduct, I made them go over the school code of conduct. So I didn't want them to think I was picking on them because literally some of these kids they knew they were wrong, but they didn't realize the real consequences behind some of this stuff. So we would talk, we start having assemblies like, if you do this, jumping is a big thing in Philly. Jumping, 3-4 people jumping on one kid. I had to break them down. If you're in a mutual fight, if you and John is fighting, that's one thing. I'll deal with you on a fighting level. We may suspend you, whatever. We may do in-school suspension. If someone doesn't get hurt, bring the parents in, try to do a community thing. But if you jump Johnny and Johnny nose is busted and he got stitches, I have to charge you now. So I did break it down where though I'm not coming here to hurt or change or destroy people. Those parents are upset, but I'm here to change the culture and the climate. As I told them, I want to make this place safe for you and your friends and everybody. So when I first got there, they were putting notes on my car, like "F you, Mr. Cameron, we're gonna get you," blah blah blah. It was interesting because I used to be in a secure facility, and then as it got more and more, and I really got to meet the parents, building relationships with the parents. A kid got suspended or something, I built a relationship with the mom. Like they come in, we'll talk. Let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you the real story, mom. Like this is, and they're like, oh, I didn't know this.
Yeah. That part, the real story.
Yeah, let me tell you the real story. I actually saw this coming. I approached your son and told him, like, don't do this. If you have a problem, come to me. And then they started trusting me. Or if a kid got hurt real bad, I told the mom, we're gonna do the letter of the law. When your kid when your daughter come out the hospital, John ain't gonna be here.
Now let me ask you this.
I have to move.
Let me ask you this. How many, I'll say this, how many male figures were in that school?
We didn't have some school police officers. We didn't have that many male teachers. So when and we had like one male NTA. So when I got there, it was like I was an alien. Because there again, once that male presence was a little different. They wasn't used to that. And I was nurturing them too. I believed in the punishment, but also, this is, we're doing in love. I may not suspend you. I'm gonna give you a in school suspension because you got too many absences. So I need you in school, but you're gonna be held accountable for this.
Yeah.
And then like, I understand this, Cameron. I said, I don't want your mom to have to go downtown because you got too many absences already. So the suspension ain't gonna help you because you don't mind being out of school anyway. But I'm bringing you in here, you get your in-school suspension, so you here, but you up in that room and you getting your work done.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah, so and what really got to me was after my third year, I was moving on to another school, and we had our assembly was at the Lear Court Center, and they told the kids I was leaving, and the parents gave me a standing ovation at the Lear Court Center, and I had never like that was touching. You never know. And they were like, Mr. Cameron, I appreciate you. You really helped out. And when me and my wife were at the Man Center about 10 years ago, this guy walked up like, yo, your husband, he really helped us out down there. Wow. He was a fair guy, so that was good.
So what you trying to tell me? You kind of created your own celebrity status? I mean, you're
I don't know about all that.
You're not as big as the Will Smiths and the Lady
No.
But for, and I think that's what happens. We'll talk more too, even with males, like how important it is to be respected, how important it is to be acknowledged. And like you said, it was touchy, and even then, were you able to really express, with the tears and the gratitude during that time? You know what I mean? So that's how important, as we move forward, being able to express our feelings.
Yeah, and I got a community award that year, and it was touching. It was good. And then after that, I left. I went to Frankfurt High School. I was there for a while. We got those numbers up. Shout out to Mr. Calderon, good dude. And then I left and I went to Lincoln. And I was there Lincoln the rest of my time, and working with Brian Garwood and whatnot, working with him. And Jack Nelson, the principal, he was actually a climate manager when I first started. And we really we got a couple of A+ grades as far as climate and safety, because Brian was like me. He knew how to talk and negotiate with parents and build a rapport. But I tell the kids, once me and your mom and dad get good, y'all in trouble.
It's over.
They be like, yo, I don't want you talking to my mom and dad. But it's that village thing. When we build as a rapport, everything you do, you build a rapport with people. You build that relationship. And it makes things easier. They'll call you about certain things. They know I can call Doug and get a favor for Doug, or vice versa. Yeah. And that's kind of, I took that route, because you can't walk around Lagoon all day. Yeah. So I tell people what I learned how to use is just 90% mentality and 10% muscle.
Yeah. Yeah, and you got to think even your communication skills. Like, I worked in a federal prison for 25 years. Like, I mean, I worked at, during that time, one of the largest federal prison, which is actually in New Jersey at Fort Dix, and we didn't have a segregation or a holding somewhere to hold inmates when they got into trouble. So we actually had to learn more, talking about communication skills. Matter of fact, I remember a guy coming in and teaching us what they call verbal judo. You know what I mean? Because
I
we
heard
had
that
to,
before.
yeah, we had to learn those communication skills because it wasn't like, we could just send somebody, to the hole for, 10 days or whatever the case may be. So you had to enhance your communication skills, So what happens there? I mean, how long did you stay in the education field? And then what happened, where you got out?
I stayed in education for 14 years. Wow. Now, while I was doing education, I started doing therapy on the side. I worked with, matter of fact, when I was at Mansion, my dad always said, "John, you're a glutton for punishment." I worked for the crisis team for the state of South Jersey at night, and we were stationed at the at Salem Hospital. Wow. So after I leave the drama from Mansion, I would drive to Salem Hospital and then deal with, overdoses, attempted suicides. And we had an outreach team. So sometimes I would have to go out either in the car myself or with the state police. If a person was saying like they would need to be committed, I'd have to go out with the state police and get them committed and stuff like that.
So you come with you come with a lot of experience, even today. I mean, as far as, course with your education, then with your lived experience and your work experience. Now you talking about, being a glove for punishment.
That's what that's
that's just being that servant though. Because now, now we have to know individuals who can be boots on the ground to deal with certain conflicts and be able to get certain resolutions. And you definitely fit that mold. And then as you do that, now, we talk about being a role model. We talk about being the black male in our community. People see that, and I know back then, like you said, you got into therapy. Therapy wasn't, a buzzword. Yeah, nope. It wasn't sexy. It wasn't a buzzword like it is now.
Nope. So while that was going on, I started writing a book called I was like, there got to be some steps that we can do to help you male, because unfortunately, I've been to close to 100 funerals, black boys, because of my work, Youth Study Center, Ferris, Lima. Yeah, and then eventually I stopped going. So I said, what can I do? What kind of mark can I leave? And I came up to 5 pillars of leadership for Black Boys Parent Guide. That's so it took me 4 years to write it, but I'm proud of it. And what it is a working toolbox for parents who's raising Black boys.
What was the name of this book? Your book?
5 Pillars of Leadership for Black Boys Parent Guide.
And where can they find it now?
My website, www.thecamerongroup.info, and it's also on Amazon.
Yeah, y'all need to get that book, 5 Pillars of Leadership
for Black Boys Parent Guide. So I'll give you one of the pillars, entrepreneurship. And I tell every parent, even if your son wants to be a biologist, and wants to work for a company, he got to know a little bit of entrepreneurial skills, be it marketing itself to the jobs, be it being able to build relationships, things like that. So, then one is education. I tell them education is important. I'm not really talking about college degree. I'm just talking about this educating yourself in life, connecting with a mentor or somebody. If you want to learn certain skills, you need to start connecting and educating yourself in that skill, because I tell a lot of boys, like right now with all the people that's, as far as service in regard to roofers and electricians, a lot of our age group, they're retiring. These young men can make tons and tons and tons of money,
yes, sir,
with a 1.5 year degree. So they don't have to worry about writing all these papers and stuff like that. They hands-on and then get on apprenticeship, and they can run with that. So in the book, I got links to that, other things, SMART goals. And I talk heavily about SMART goals. I use it all the time, no matter what I do, create a SMART goal, so, and then that led me to writing this book. I got an ebook I just finished. Wow. I started in November, and it's called Breaking the Stigma, a guide to understanding and managing depression and anxiety in men.
Ooh.
Yeah, so
Now,
that's
what led you to write about that though? What actually led you to
my
do that?
clients, my male clients, because in my practice, I mostly see males. I see some people, most of my clients are males between 8 and 80. And
You have a practice now, and how long have you been in
a
practice?
little bit over a year and a half called the Cameron Group. So in the Cameron Group, I do mentoring, but we do therapy too. So I do virtual therapy, through the computers and stuff. Um, with that, I found that we was struggling with this depression stuff as men, and I started noticing more and more. I'm like, even with myself, I'm like, you're depressed. That's what's going on with you. You shutting down, poor communication, getting angry fast. In the book, I have a chapter about the dangers of the man cave, and I'm gonna send you. I'm an ebook. I'm gonna send you the ebook. So
Yes,
I'm gonna
sir.
email it
Yes,
to you.
sir. Yes, sir.
The dangers of the man cave, how the man cave can flip on us. We go down there, man cave, watch TV and all that stuff, hang out, maybe have a beer. But also the man cave is where we sometimes isolate ourselves from our family,
From everybody.
you know, from everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes the TV ain't on.
Mm-hmm.
You just down there.
Yeah,
And,
I've
and,
been
and
there.
right. And me too. So I talked about the dangers of the man cave, how the man cave, and what you need to do if you think that you're suffering from anxiety and depression. Also, I want to tell everybody this, and if there's men listening, get a full blood workup
Mm.
as soon as you can. Tell your doctor you want your blood worked up on everything. There's something called dopamine, and your dopamine and your testosterone will drop a little bit because as we get older,
Yeah.
that's when we start getting bald or things like that. But it also can take you into anxiety and depression. So, and then if there's any man listening, please just go get you a full blood and just health wise anyway. You know what I mean? But the chemicals in our bodies, they balance, they unbalance, and also just with you may have grown up where though there's a family member close to you, in your that's may suffer from anxiety and depression.
Mm.
You know, and
How generational is that?
it's big. One in every four male either suffers from depression or anxiety. One
One
in
in
every
one in four?
one in four. One in every six male has had real serious thoughts of suicide.
Mm.
Real thoughts of suicide, not just I'm having a bad day.
Yeah.
Actually had a thought and really knew how they were going to do it. And that was another reason why I wrote the book, because I started having a lot of males who were having thoughts of taking their lives.
Yeah, and I think even why you say that, and it's so significant because those suicide rates, and I know they're high within our communities, especially in the age groups of 18 to 24.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
So that's another thing that's attacking us as black males. Mental health, big time. And hate to say it, some of it goes back to when we were younger, when we was kind of told you better shut your mouth and don't say nothing. A lot of sexual abuse happen to males that we keep that in Pandora's box.
Mm.
Because I'm running into a lot of them. My clients who eventually, tell me, yeah, my uncle did this, my aunt did this.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And it's amazing you say that because uh, I got I got some individuals that actually male and female, uh, both that came on this podcast and talked about it. Uh,
Yeah.
because one thing that we don't account for, we sometimes we're thinking about it, it's the sexual assault, is the rape that happened when somebody was going down the street or a park. Now it happens in our own families.
Mm-hmm. And
Somebody that we were close to, and they
mm-hmm.
always, and I listened to them, and they carried it for years because
Mm-hmm.
of fear. You know, like you said, now therapy becoming now a buzzword. Now we're starting to hear these traumatic events or these traumatic stories that people are now able to release that they held for so long. You know, do you find that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
It happens a lot, like at least once a month, where somebody eventually say, "Look, John, this is what happened to me. You know, this is why I'm overly sexual, or I don't really like having sex." Because there's men out, people think, oh man, there's men out there who, because of what's happened to them, they're not really sexual creatures. They're not really trying to have sex. They got to get taught that it's okay and things like that. You know, so we just trying to really just trying to help our community heal. What I want to do is, I told myself that this next phase of my life is to really empower men, and it's black men, and try to help with crush this stigma about us being these horrible guys and and these monsters, and we don't love our families like these other people love their family, and that's not true.
It's not true at all.
At all. I'm looking at you myself. I looked at all my uncles. I have an uncle, 82 years old. He just got his doctorate 2 weeks ago. I posted on my Facebook page, but he was always pushing us about education and doing better. He 82, pledged Q at 70 and got his doctorate at 82. So I'm like, they don't talk about him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These men out here that's really doing, these young guys are in school and or got their own businesses and really like your nephew, he doing, I always see him, he everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he's a great role model.
And that's the thing that even how this podcast was birthed, Reggie Howard, you already know, he was like, yo, OG, like you can leave a legacy just by being on a podcast. And I was like, yeah, you know what, you're right. Then like we talked even kind of before we started recording, like these amazing stories that I hear from people, like your story. We talk about, I never knew about the Will Smith, the Lady B. Now, your accountability partner. Now we're talking about your lived experience. You're talking about working in the juvenile facilities. You talk about working in the schools. And now you're talking about what all that. You took everything that you had and bundled everything up and realized the strength that was within you.
Right.
So, you know what? Talking about how you want to, for those guys, you talking about the 5 pillars. One of those 5 pillars were entrepreneurship. You're not just talking about it. You're doing it. So for everybody that's listening, like John is a doer, so taking all that, what he's talking about, putting it into fruition. And now, John, as we look and we're looking at going forward, we're looking at, you got the books, you got 2 books. Like what is in it, the plan? What is the, I can kind of say what's in the future, but what is the perfect picture look like? Like we say the white picket fence in the car, but what does your perfect picture look like?
I tell people, because I got ADHD, it's never one thing.
I like that.
The picture for me is training other therapists, getting and teaching them about secondary trauma, help the teachers in these schools. I like to speak a little more, just out there myself, but just do some good work, whatever that looks like. Whatever God, just do some good work. My mom got on her grave, let the works that I've done speak for me. Yeah, I tell people.
Wait, John. Wait. You can't. And I tell people, you can't just drop gems and then finish the conversation. You can't. Yeah. You have to slow that piece down. You got to say it a little bit slower, man, because I think that is very important for people to hear.
Yeah, my mom was a servant of God. She was a social worker, and very smart woman. Had a biology degree. She was one of the people that she was, she didn't have her doctors or nothing, but she knew everybody. She could pick up a phone and call somebody. My first job I got because my mom and the head of HR, they were social workers together. And my mom called her and she said, John home from school. She said, okay, tell John, come on down here to School District Philadelphia and I'll get him a job tomorrow. You know what I mean? That's good. She just kind of walked softly but carried a big stick.
Yeah.
She was that kind of person. I always admired that about my mom. But she would always say, you know, I ain't doing this for no prize. She just said, when I'm done, let the worst that I've done speak for me.
Let the worst that I've done speak for me.
So she was like, I want you to see just what I did, groundwork. I don't need no fluff. The things that I'm done to help and shape other people. And I'm like, and that's on her gravestone. And I think about that every day. You know, it was just, people, because we all need money, we all need things. But at the time, like you said, we got to serve.
Mm-hmm.
Got to serve.
Yeah.
And we got to put the work in. Before we go, I do got to mention this one person.
You have to. You have to.
So
wait a minute. Let me sit up. Because ain't no telling what's gonna come out, John.
So I grew up on a block with a lot of just artistic, different people. So my friend Cheryl Colors, I had to shout her out. Her name is Star. She's self-taught bass player. Cheryl played bass. We had a little small band in the neighborhood. But Cheryl played for Parliament Funkadelic for 8 years.
No.
She's the only female bass player he's ever had. And she lived 3 houses from me. She's done about 5 albums.
I gotta go back. I gotta go back.
I want to throw it out to you for real.
Wait a minute. I gotta go back because I am I am P-Funk all the way. Let me just say that. And I'm trying to think. And I'm a big Boosie Collins fan, George Clark, like all of them. So now I got to go back and do my own research.
So she was always when he had his second run, when he'll change over bass players. If there's a light-skinned female, and that's her. She's from Philadelphia. But she got her own thing. She's done about eight albums and stuff. And then her and Will are really close out in Hollywood. She lives in California.
Yeah.
But her name is STAARR Colors. But so I had to shout because she was just incredible. She was just a great childhood friend, and to watch her just learn, like she was self-taught. And we'd be outside in the summertime, and she'd be sitting on a porch playing her bass, just no amp or nothing, just practicing. And she was like, I want to be one of the best female bass players in the world one day.
Wow.
And she is.
Wow.
Yeah. So
you got me thinking now that, okay, well, it's a podcast, so I'm gonna tell you a little story that you might not know.
Okay.
I stayed out in Williamsboro, New Jersey. Same thing, servant. End up coaching a lot of years. The little community basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And this one little, I'll kind of put it out this way. This one little fat kid was on our squad. Pretty good. I mean, the kid was, pretty good. Always a good communicator. Always a good teammate. And then as this kid gets older, I'm doing a lot of traveling with my job because I should do audits. I worked in a federal prison, but I got to a point where I was doing audits in different institutions. And I should always see this kid in the airports. Like every time I see him, I'm like, yo. And then what I found out, he come from a family that play instruments anyway. So every time I seen him with a musical instrument, mainly a bass.
Yeah.
So now I'm seeing this kid everywhere. And then I'm seeing him more and more. And you know who this kid is?
Who's that?
Adam Blackstone.
No. Wow. Ain't that
and it just goes to show you. I mean, just like, okay, it ain't like I can call him and pick pick up the phone and call him. But I contribute that to, just like you said, that foundation. Even in that neighborhood in Winfield, that was a solid foundation. That was community. Even in, like I said, in the township of Williamsboro, there was community, Black community at that. And then out of that, we got celebrities, but out of that, we got people like us.
Right.
We got servants.
Right. Right.
You know, we talk about our work. Your mom talk about the work. Let my work speak for it. Yet I'm not perfect. Don't get me wrong. I've made mistakes, but let my work. People remember my work. I want you to remember the work. You know, so and even before we go, man, because you've been dropping gems. I knew you would. We got the same energy.
Yeah, we do.
But give us some words of wisdom, man, that you would tell the people, whether they listening or they see this on YouTube.
If you're going through something, you're not sure what to do, be still. Just be still. It'll come to you. Just be still. Don't overreact, don't react. Just be still, and God will direct you. Whoever you believe in, He's gonna direct you the right path. But be still. Just learn patience and be still.
And that's a mouthful, John. I mean, that you said a lot, because when we're able to be still, we're able to collect our thoughts. You know, and you know, I think about my relationship with God. So God is always going to feed me positive.
Yep.
You know, and so now those positive thoughts are coming into my mind. You know, you talk about the dopamine. So now my energy is starting to build. And now I'll get opportunity, because God is he directs our path. Yep. You know what I mean? And his plans, all his plans are good.
All his plans, no matter what, they all are good.
You know, all are good. You know, so that's amazing. And those are words I want people, whether, like I said, whether you're listening or you see this, you need to attest to. You know, and this is why John is on the show. You know, because I knew John would bring the wisdom, and he told you about his early life. He told you about some people that, you know, some names you know, but he told you, more importantly, he told you, he spoke about his foundation, which is God. But more importantly, he talked about his mom and what she did. And this is why we call this the Let's Go Show.
Woo, that's right. Let's go.
You know what I say, baby? Peace.
Peace.
We are.